Right, just a quick update on some of the little jobs I've been doing. I've now fitted all the, well not all, I've now fitted the 4 catches for the rear clam and front clam. I've used the ones supplied by AK Sports, which are the radio spare stainless steel over centre catches with the little lock in. So they've gone in quite nicely. So quite happy with that. Had to put a chamfer or a curve on the recess because obviously as it lifts it catches otherwise, but I don't think it looks too bad. Had to make up some aluminium brackets to move everything out into the right plane so it fitted properly, so quite pleased with that. Finally finished the driver's door. Done the lock, panel gapping. Seems to be quite nice, seems to fit alright. You've got to give it quite a good slam to shut, but all that went in alright. I've had to play around with the rubbers a little bit though, which I'll just move in so you can see. The rubber coming up on the leading edge, I've had to use, if you can see, that section, which is all these are from Car Builder Solutions. It's a sort of square one with 2 ears on there. So that comes up to that point there, where I've then had to change over to a roundy one. I'll show you the cross section of that in a moment. That follows all the way round. And then at this point, where are we? At this point here, I've had to go back to a smaller round section down to the bottom. And along the bottom edge, I made up an aluminium angle, which you can see there, which has got to be fixed in. Not quite sure of the position yet. We'll sort that out when the door's shut. Just shut the door a moment. When I did the door on this side, I found that the actual bottom of the door, I had too much of a gap. It was literally nearly an 8mm gap. So I had to extend the door down to fill that gap in. I've got to do that now on the passenger door. And what I'll do is I'll show you how I went about and did that. So just move over to the passenger door and I'll show you the problem. Zoom back, you can see that I've got quite a big gap running all along there. So I'm going to have to extend the door down slightly to take care of that gap. Quite happy with the gap running up there. Going to have to take a little bit off of the door there to get that gap right, and possibly extend the front clip to fill that gap slightly. Again, I had to do lots of playing around with the rubber seals on this particular door as well. But that's part of the fun of building this car. So we'll now move on to showing you what I do to increase the depth of the door. Right, looking at the bottom of the door now. Now a lot of you guys probably already know this, but for those that don't and have the problem, this is how we extend the bottom of the door. Now we can't just put a layer of filler along the bottom, because that'll get knocked off quite easy. So what we have to do is to grind a chamfer about 45 degrees on the inside, then back it with some silver tape as a support, put layers of fiberglass cloth along to build it up, and then layer into the 45-degree cut. Now it probably sounds all very confusing, but if I do the video now as I'm doing it, hopefully it'll become quite clear what I'm doing. So here we go. First job then is to cut 45. So I'll show that when I've done it. And that's my 45 cut. don't know if you can see it there. Let's see if I can bring that into focus. There we go. You can just see the angle there. And I've left about a 2mm lip upright. So next thing now to do is to add some backing. We'll go do that. Right, that's the silver tape added as a backing. But it's always a little bit flimsy when you're laying up fiberglass, so I tend to put some lollipop sticks on the back just to give it a bit of strength. So I'll go and do that now. So I just take a lollipop stick, or a mixing stick, a tongue stick I think they're called, bit of silver tape stuck to it, and then we apply that as I've already put one on there, and we put the next one in there. Just to give it a bit of backing support. That makes it much more rigid. Right, that's all my lollipop sticks, tongue sticks stuck along the back surface. Now we have to go and cut the fiberglass matting into thin strips. Right, so I've turned it over now. So the plan is to cut some long strips of fiberglass matting, lay it on, let's assume this is the fiberglass matting, is to lay it on and glass it in on the aluminium tape, butting up against the bottom of the door. Now we need to bring that up until we're level with where the chamfer comes down to. So I'm guessing in my case, because I'm using, I think it's 300-gram matting, which is quite thin, probably 3 to 4 layers. So we put in 3 to 4 layers along there, and then when we're level with the chamfer, we then lay on an overlap, just slightly overlapping, and then we lay another one on overlapping again, another one overlapping again. So we're working up the chamfer. So what we will end up with is slight little steps coming down to quite a nice thickness. And then once that's all gone off, we then sand that smooth, fill it, and do the same from the other side. Then we can trim off the bottom to the right length. So that's where we'll go to next. Right, I've mixed up about 200 grams of resin. I've added a bit of black to it, only so that way I know when I've fully mixed in the catalyst. And then we just spread it liberally over the silver tape. So we lay them on, butting up against the actual door, and then slip it down with some more resin. Right, we can now add our second piece. Whoops. Right, now we can do the overlap. Again, just want a slight overlap to start with. So I'm just going about 2 millimeters into the taper. Next one, go a bit further over. I think I'll put one more in. Goes a bit higher up. Right, once we're happy, we can then roller it. Be very careful. Right, that's that all done now. We just have to leave that to dry. A couple of hours. It's quite warm today, so that should go off. And then we'll trim it back.